Let me ask you something. Can the tragedies that we suffer in our lives ever truly be overcome, or does the pain last forever? This story tells about the most tragic event in my life and how I came to deal with it. It was 2009, and I was a freshman in college when I met a very rebellious and optimistic brunette named Emily, whom I fell madly in love with. Emily was an alcoholic and an addict who would swallow just about any pill she could find. Well, rather than me pulling her out of that abusive habit, Emily drugged me down into it, and soon we added drugs to our relationship and shared the experience of being high together. House parties became our habitat, pills our daily bread, and alcohol our water. The summer after our second semester, about a year after meeting her, I proposed, and Emily made me the happiest man on the planet when she accepted. However, it was not always sunshine and roses, and despite loving one another, Emily and I argued often, and it often got worse when one or either of us had been drinking. At one particular frat party, I left Emily at the house and staggered over to another nearby pad, the home of a friend named Callie. I had been arguing with Emily about whether or not she had been drinking too much. I said yes, and she said no. So, I decided that a little smoke session might calm my nerves, since Callie and some of the other friends had been smoking weed. I told myself that I could come back and talk to Emily more reasonably later. Little did I know, that was the last time I would ever talk to her. About an hour after I left, I got a phone call from one of the fraternity brothers, telling me to rush back to the house and get Emily out of there. She had passed out on their couch, and they were worried about her, but they did not want to deal with her. When I arrived, my fiancée was not moving, even when I tried to get a response from her. I knew that Emily and I both had not only been drinking, but were also taking ecstasy that night. What I didn't know was that Emily had also been taking anything she could get her hands on, mostly Xanax and hydrocodone, and washing it all down with shots. I panicked and immediately scooped Emily up in my arms and ran to my car as fast as I could. I put Emily in the passenger seat and strapped her in so that I could drive to the hospital. I sprinted to the driver's side and shakily put the keys in the ignition before peeling out of the driveway and racing down the streets, still myself intoxicated. Everything after that feels like a blur. I swerved other drivers as if they were obstacles and hardly paid attention to road signs as I knew my way to the ER. As I sped up, lights seemed to streak by as neon strands of blurred reds, yellows, and greens. Unfortunately, I rushed out into an active intersection without paying attention to the red light above me in a hurry. I remember seeing the truck's headlights and watching it as it impacted Emily's side in what seemed like slow motion. Glass shattered and rained into the cab, and her body was limp. It moved like a rag doll beneath the seatbelt that I had strapped over her. And then the car turned, and we went into a spin. I must have impacted the steering wheel because I was knocked out, and when I woke up, there were sirens, paramedics, and I had a broken nose. Emily did not wake up. They say that I'm lucky, and that we both could have died that night. They say it wasn't my fault despite driving while intoxicated, that I won't be charged with involuntary manslaughter of my passenger. Apparently, the autopsy revealed that Emily was very likely gone by the time the crash even happened, that the cause of death was a dangerous cocktail of chemicals. Nonetheless, I couldn't help but blame myself. I asked what would have happened if I had just stayed and dealt with Emily that night instead of going to get high. What if I would have made her drink one less beer, or pop one less pill? What if I had smoked less and came back sooner? Or what if I had paused at that red light, or driven just a little faster? What if, by any means, I could have just made it to the hospital? Could I have saved her? It took me many sleepless nights, in fact, about 2 years' worth, to finally wear a smile again and defeat the depression and suicidal thoughts that plagued me. In the end, I realized that I will never know. I will never know if there was anything I could have done. Both of us were paying for and being victimized by and for our dangerous lifestyles, and it took the death of the woman I loved to get me sober. So, I'll ask again, can we ever really, truly overcome tragedy? Move on and get past it, maybe? Personally, I don't think that we're supposed to get over it per se, but I do know that we're not supposed to dwell on the negative forever. I had to live for her, to wake up and put on a smile because she couldn't anymore, and she wouldn't want me to wear a frown. I learned, and I believe, that we can choose happiness, that is a state of mind and not a state of environment. It may not seem like much, but in the end, perhaps a little reason to be happy is all it would take to start paving the path to your own road to recovery.